Well, welcome viewers. I'm Dr. JWA, theologist, Central Coast, New South Wales, Australia since 1994. This is part of an ongoing series called The Letter They Didn't Want Sent. This is episode 5 of that series, when peacekeeping becomes self-betrayal. In episode 4, the truth became dangerous once it interpreted the system protecting itself. And in this episode, the pressure no longer stays around the person, it starts accumulating inside them, quietly, repeatedly, until eventually it becomes language. You didn't notice the self-betraying immediately. At first, it just felt easier to stay quiet. And some people don't write letters because they don't want conflict. They write them because years of managed silence, behavioural adaptation, emotional caution, and internal rehearsing eventually become impossible to carry internally any longer. Viewers, the letter becomes the final place the truth is finally allowed to survive intact. And I think that was the first thing I started documenting internally. Not arguments, the adjustments. The way conversations changed shape whenever certain subjects entered the room. Dinner still happened, people still smiled, but certain truths suddenly developed consequences around them. You could feel it before anyone spoke. The body always knew first. The shoulders tightened, breathing shortened, tone softened automatically, and someone changed the subject too quickly. Someone laughed when nothing was funny, and someone looked down for half a second too long. Then the conversation moved on as if nothing happened. But something in you stopped moving with it. And that's probably when the internal recording started. Not revenge, not bitterness, observation. You begin quietly collecting moments, patterns, contradictions, emotional consequences attached to honesty. Entire conversations become mentally archived before they're ever spoken aloud. Sentences are internally edited before reaching the mouth because the nervous system already knows which truths destabilize the environment. And eventually, viewers, none of this feels rational. It feels dangerous. And the strangest part is this. Externally, everything still appears functional. Work still gets done. Messages still get answered. Birthdays still happen. People still sit at home the same way at the kitchen table, but underneath the environment, something else begins forming quietly. Evidence. Not courtroom evidence, behavioural evidence, accumulated psychological evidence, the kind that slowly forces a person to realise they are no longer participating naturally inside the family environment. They're just managing it, surviving it, monitoring it. The ceiling fan suddenly sounds louder than the conversation. The spoon touches the cup louder than before. Nobody says what everyone feels. The pressure remains seated anyway. That's what eventually creates the fracture. Not one catastrophic moment. Accumulation, viewers. Thousands of internal negotiations quietly exhausting the nervous system over time. Small silences, small compromises, small betrayals of instinct, and you let one comment pass, then another, and then eventually you begin monitoring posture, wording, timing, facial reactions, emotional temperature, and possible fallout before answering honestly. And your body arrives before your voice does. Sleep becomes lighter. Ordinary conversations become tiring. And slowly the relationship starts dividing into two realities. The version externally maintained for stability and the version internally documented for survival. I think that is when the letter actually begins forming, viewers. Not on paper, inside the accumulation, inside the growing realization that if the truth is not eventually written somewhere intact, the environment will continue rewriting it until even you begin doubting what you experienced. And eventually the person reaches the point where silence no longer feels peaceful, it feels complicit. So the letter gets written. Not because confrontation became desirable, but because internal survival finally became more necessary than emotional management. And viewers, by the time the letter's finally sent, it is rarely carrying one moment. It's carrying years of rehearsed conversations, suppressed reactions, accumulated observations, internal contradictions, behavioural patterns, emotional exhaustion, and truths that survive privately long after they were no longer allowed to survive publicly. I'm Dr. J.W.A.U., theologist since 1994. Like and subscribe to encourage the channel. Comment to educate me, and share the video to help somebody else. Press the bell even if the content is good enough. And I'll see you in the next episode when you start doubting your own memory. Bye for now.